Welcome to Smarter Collections. I'm your host today, Jamie Wright, and I'm joined by a panel of experts today who's going to give you first-hand experience of working with cHQacademic. But before we start that, I'm just going to give you a couple of slides to give an overview of what cHQacademic is, so you know what we're discussing. So I'll give a bit of background. cHQacademic, we've been around now coming up to 2 decades. I've been with the business for just over a decade. It's flown in. We work with libraries from all over the world. We've got over 500 global customers. When you look at actual physical buildings, we've got about between 10 to 15,000 branches around the world. And that's split between academic and public libraries. Now, today you're here because we're going to be discussing cHQacademic, which we launched just over a year ago. And we have one of the founding colleges that worked with us, Siena College. Colin's going to explain about why they work with us later on in this presentation. So cHQacademic was built specifically for the academic institutions. What we did not want to do was basically put a line through public libraries and put academic above it. So we went back to the drawing board to understand what tools do you actually need in an academic library, because we know that you deal with your collections differently than a public library. So we looked at what are the core things you need right now. The biggest thing that we've seen is your auditing and weeding is an area that you're really spending a lot of time on. And we do know a lot of libraries are moving from a physical collection more to a digital driven collection. So that's phase 2 of our development, and I'll come on to that later on. So everything I'm going to show you today is developed especially for academic libraries, and we have librarians all over the world now working with us on cHQacademic. What do you need to do your jobs? First kind of tool I'm going to explain is the out-of-date stock check summary. Being academic institutions, all of your collections need to be as up to date as possible for your student learning. So we have this system-wide summary report. What this enables you to do is identify very quickly how up to date your collection is. So you can see in this example, the top one is average 11 years old, right down to 14 years old. What we're seeing in the real world is collections between 30 to 50 years old that are sat on the shelf. So a lot of older content in there. So what this enables you to do is identify which areas of your collection you should be focusing on when you come into doing your weeding. So a nice, easy, summarized macro picture of what's going on in the collection. When we go down to the detailed level, what cHQ specializes in is providing you tools and software that makes life easier. Now, we know ILSs provide you analytical tools, but we also understand that this takes a lot of time and effort to understand what's within those reports. So we simplified the process, and our action plans make it simple in terms of it tells you what you need to know. So simple, it gives you the shelving, the author, the title, but importantly here, you'll notice you have a scannable barcode, again, making life easier. We can see the publication date and last use date. And on the last column here, we have our EBSM metrics. Now, EBSM means evidence-based stock management. Now, EBSM is our methodology, and that's what all of our systems are built on, this methodology, giving recommendations, and that's the key word, recommendations. ILSs don't provide recommendations, they provide data. So we provide that data, but with the recommendations to make life easier. So you can see here, the top line tells me this item is dead. It's collection check. Collection check in our world means it's in an audit because it hasn't been seen in 4 years or longer. It's out of date, but it's also identified this is the last copy of the item on the shelf. Now, this is great if you're wanting to preserve the book or you're working within a consortia and you can say, this is my last copy. Do I need to keep it or can I remove it from the collection? One of the tools we released in the last year is the ability to scan an item. So if you scan a book with your barcode reader, it will now provide you information on that item. So providing me, is it dead? Is it grubby? Now, anyone will be wondering, what does grubby mean? It's a word we made up many years ago in Scotland, and it means a book potentially in poor condition. So it's grubby, a little bit rough around the edges. So has this book had 28 circulations? Should we check the condition of the book? Is it a collection check? This one's saying yes. So again, it's not been seen, in this case, since 2020. Is it outdated? Yes or no? This one is. But two key bits of information here is it DEI or is it core? So we have our DEI, so our diversity, equity, and inclusion module. And is it core, meaning do I need to keep this in the collection? Finishing on kind of some screen grabs here is the DEI tool. So our award-winning DEI tool was released now coming up to 5 years ago. It gives you multiple data points to identify DEI items within your collection. Now on this page, we're looking at the macro picture, so I can see that the 18% of the collection is classed as DEI. I can see the unique topics that falls within, and I can filter this between percentages, totals, number of titles versus number of copies. And I can also do a trend analysis in the system. Now there's lots more functionality that I could show you, but today I'm really going to get onto the round table because we want to get you hearing from people that are using the software. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce James Rhodes. I'd like to introduce Maddie, Connor, and Stacey too. So I'm going to kick off. James, do you want to just do a quick introduction, please?
Hi, my name is James Rhodes. I'm an Associate Director of Acquisitions and Description at University of Virginia.
Maddie?
Hi, I'm Maddie Henneke. I'm an electronic resources librarian in James Rhodes' department here at UVA.
Stacey?
Hi, everybody. I'm Stacey Bloomingdale. I'm the acquisitions librarian at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University.
Excellent. And last but not least, Conan.
Hi, everybody. I'm Conan Helene. I'm the systems librarian here at former Siena College. We're actually Siena University now.
So I'm going to ask a few questions, and we're going to go round the tables. So Maddie and James, you work together, so you can share the questions. So the first one I'm going to kick off to James Rhodes and Maddie is why did you choose to invest in cHQacademic?
Okay, I'll take this one, Maddie. So we have a big library system at University of Virginia. We have about 10 libraries. And what I was really interested in is the DEI analytical tool. But because I'm in acquisition, so I'm not really looking to get rid of materials. So that's was our primary concern. But then when I talked to my colleagues from the other libraries on grounds here at University of Virginia, there was a lot of interest in the weeding aspects of the tool too. So it was really, one person may have one desire with the tool, and then others may have, other things that they find utility in it, and that's what we discovered here at University of Virginia. Excellent.
Stacey, so why do you guys choose to invest in cHQacademic?
So I saw one of my colleagues, I believe she's on here, Shannon Harley. She actually talked to James Barker about it when she was at Charleston a couple years ago and said, hey, this might be interesting. I don't know a lot about it, but I think we should do a demo. And so we did. We got a demo done, and it just looked really amazing and just an easier tool to use rather than analytics. And for me, since I'm acquisitions and I just finished a big weeding project, it was nice to kind of see what subject areas were overstocked or outdated that I could really focus on.
Excellent. Conan, last but not least again.
I would say what interested us is the fact that when we analyzed our collection using our in-house analytics tool, we come up with a pretty old collection, as you had mentioned in your introduction. So, the majority of our print holdings are between 1960 and 1999. And that actually represents around over 50% of the collection. So we can't go about, hitting that with a blunt tool. We need to get a little more focused. And so using this tool was really important to us because we could be very targeted and make some incremental changes, because we didn't want to do a whole house sort of giant weeding and lose everything. So there's a lot of built-in functionality that's very easy to use that facilitates that.
So I'm going to kick up with Colin. I'm going to let you go first this time. So the second question is, how does cHQacademic compare to your ILS tools?
Our build, we're on Ex Libris Alma Primo, and Alma has really robust reporting, but it is complicated, and it is certainly not what I would describe as turnkey. And if you have a staffing issue or a little shorthanded here, this is not something we could easily turn over to a staff person. Our analytics would take some training for them to be able to run reports. Whereas with this tool, it's a lot easier to use and a lot more user friendly. And we could actually have staff working with some guidance to run reports for us. So that's also really attractive.
Stacey, same question.
Pretty much the same type of answer that Conan did. It's just a lot easier to use. We also use Alma Primo and Alma Analytics, and I have taken the trainings many times, and it just does not seem to stick. So I really like having something that's easier, more friendly to use for sure. And I like the option of being able to send reports to my librarians if I need to for them to go out to the stacks to look for anything.
Excellent. And James and Maddie, you're on a different ILS if I remember rightly. So how does this compare to your ILS?
I can answer this one. I would say that to echo what Conan and Stacey were saying, that compared to Cersei Dynix's Blue Cloud Analytics, which we can use, that also is very kind of intricate, takes a lot of training. Also, there's certain things you can't do unless you have a very high permission level, which is limited to how many people who can do that. So I think the UI of collectionHQ is just much more approachable, more intuitive. You can do things like use the browser back button, which like in Blue Cloud Analytics, it's going to break everything, if you do that. So there's just some things that just feel a little bit friendlier about it. And also it's just, a little bit quicker to be able to hit the ground running with it.
Excellent. And one thing you do get with cHQacademic is you get James Barker as your customer success manager. So what he does is, I hope, is provides you that ongoing support in the background and training when you need it, and webinars. So we do a lot of webinars these days to make sure you get that support and help every step. So the next question, so Maddie and James, I'll stick with you guys. So what's your collection development goals over the next 12 months?
Well, I really think we're going to use the tool quite a bit to do some DEI analysis of our collections. We had a goal to actually work on that this summer, but back in the end of February, there was an announcement made by another vendor that they were going to stop dealing with real books. So that kind of threw everything up into the air for us because we were actually using their system, so we had to switch over. But we're really excited about really digging in and putting the tool to the test.
Excellent. Conan, I'm going to pass it to you. So what's your goals at CNO next 12 months?
Well, as I said, I have a giant problem. So we're going to use the tool to get really targeted about the areas that we would like to work on, and then we're going to prioritize into smaller bites. And again, that's mostly due to a staffing issue. I need to find a way to make this easy to pass on to students. So that will be my focus.
Excellent. And Stacey?
Yeah, so like I had mentioned before, I've just finished a really big weeding project of pretty much our whole library. So now I'm just planning on using it to help maintain, and then maybe do another pass over for certain sections where I feel like maybe we didn't weed as much as we should have. So in that way, just do a big maintenance weed with the tool.
Excellent. So we know you're going to do a lot of it is maintenance and DEI and bite size. So how are you actually going to use the tool? So people that have never used cHQacademic, what parts of the tool are you going to really dig into? You've got scheduling there, you've got out of date, you've got your weeding. So do you want to give a bit of more detail on that? I'm going to let Stacey, you go first.
Sure. I plan on doing the scheduling. So for the users that don't know, it schedules a month out. So my plan is to give my librarians a little bit of a break from waiting since they've done it this whole year. But I think probably in December, January, I'm going to start the maintenance process. So I'm going to have them scheduled particular sections to go out to look, just to do another double check run through of whatever section they had before. And then probably combine that with dead and or grubby just to make sure we didn't miss anything.
Excellent. Conan, so how are you going to get right into the tool?
For me, we will probably run a prioritization list, and that's again a staffing issue. So we will have to do that probably on a monthly basis over the winter to get ourselves in a better place so that in the spring we can actually maybe look at the collection in a bigger sense. So I will be using the prioritization tool more than anything this winter.
Excellent. So the prioritization tool, for those that haven't used cHQacademic, what that enables you to do is take a large list, up to 30,000 items, and you think about your collections, you probably have some collections bigger than 30,000 items, and you can reduce it down to a bite size. So it could be, give me 50 books based on ABC, and it'll give you that at click of a button. So it's streamlined. And Conan's saying about making bite size of it, being able to hand that to students to do work. So that just makes life so much easier. Rather than manually having to go through line by line, you can just do that, just reduce it down based on these priorities, and boom, it gives you that list. Maddie, so how are you going to delve into the tool?
Well, one thing that I've gotten kind of people asking about is Library of Congress classifications, like use, like broke it down by those. And so I know that there's a kind of like the system-wide collection use where you can look at the LC classification specifically. And then it's nice that you can go in and see the item right away, which sometimes is a little harder when you're working in ILS to kind of go from one function to another. So that's been nice, and I'd like to explore that more.
Excellent. James, anything to add to that?
Well, of course, we can't wait to actually use the tool for our electronic ebooks, because we'd really like to. We all know that the records for ebooks aren't always the greatest, and I think combining it with the different reviews of titles that cHQacademic does, I think it's going to be very helpful. So. And we're also want to look at language, non-English language materials too. James was able to help us set that up so we can do that. So we're looking forward to it.
Excellent. So the ebook comparison is the tool that we're releasing next to the audience. So everyone's in. So hopefully this side of the calendar year, we're going to be planning to add a new column into all of our physical auditing and weeding tools. And what they're able to do is see, do I have a digital version of that? Now, this has come back from a lot of early adopters saying, we know we have a problem with our physical items, but we also want to understand, do we have an e-version of that before we potentially remove it from the collection? And I can imagine the whole panel here is going to be nodding. That's going to be a big problem. So we're now come up with a solution where we're going to be doing that comparison to say you have a strong match of this in an e-version. So that makes you make the decision, I can remove it off the shelf, yes or no. So that's coming this year. So we're excited about having E in it. The plan then from phase 2 of this would then to be add more ebook reporting functionality. So we'll be working on that over the next kind of year 2026. So that's coming soon. Next question, and this one I like. What was your biggest challenge before you started to use cHQacademic when you were doing your collection development kind of projects? And I'm going to let Stacey take the lead in this first.
Sure. I guess really kind of just knowing where to start. I kind of found it a little overwhelming when I would just kind of go to the stacks and just kind of visually see everything I had to weed. So it was nice in this way getting it, because it kind of broke it down a little more, especially with like the overstocked areas. I could really concentrate and drill down on a particular subject, and then just go to that area in the stacks and be like, okay, this actually isn't so bad, and then let my librarians run free and weed.
Let them run free in the wild, it sounds. James, So what was your biggest challenge before you came started with using cHQacademic?
Well, it's the biggest challenge I think most people have is time. And this is a tool that can help you free up some time. Um, so as we've all mentioned, a lot of these analytical tools that we have through an ILS they take a lot of time, whereas this is a little more intuitive and it's more straightforward. And I got to say this, cHQacademic has a great team. Jamie and James and Neil, Anna, the whole team, they're just great people to work with, and they're there for you, when you reach out. And that added touch, being able to connect with them when you need something, it's really a wonderful thing.
Thank you. We appreciate that. That's one thing within our company, kind of a whole kind of when we're looking at what we do as a product and a service, the after sales service is just as important as the product, because we know from time to time any product may have a problem, a bug or something like that. But if you can't speak to people and be able to train and help and support it, then it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. So we're very much as customer comes first, customer focus, and everything we develop, we bring customers in to that process. So I think most of you have been on calls with Neil, who's our business analyst, who's looking at what is the problem we're trying to solve for you. And there's not many organizations out there that you can say to probably do that with you. You could probably name them on one hand, maybe one finger, that actually go out and speak to you. So that's something that we really make sure we pride ourselves. And that's why we've been so successful as an organization in the public world. And we're bringing that across into the academic space. Conan, what was your biggest challenge before cHQacademic?
So being on Alma, our analytics are complicated. You can use some out-of-the-box reporting, but as soon as you start tweaking with it to maybe tell you something else that you wanted to know, you can break the report and end up with nothing that's very useful to you. And meanwhile, you spent half a day trying to figure that out. So again, time wasted, and there's not a lot of time. So that was a giant challenge, and this fixes that challenge. As everyone else has mentioned, the reporting is intuitive and easy to use. Staff has been great, helpful to us in terms of giving us advice on how to build reporting and use it. So this is just a much more pleasant way to analyze your collection and not have to spend a lot of time building the reporting that would do that. So this fixes that challenge for us.
So I'm looking at the time. I'm trying to leave a couple of minutes for questions. So I'm just going to jump to the last question, and is, would you recommend cHQacademic, and why? So would you recommend to other librarians, and why would you recommend it? So I'm going to go to Maddie and James first.
I would, yes. I think that kind of adding to what James was saying before, having a team to kind of be able to talk with, as opposed to sometimes with software you sort of need something and then you just have to submit an idea to some idea center and it might be years later before it's even added or addressed. But it's nice to kind of have people you can talk to and say, can we get this, and really work with them. And so that's been nice.
I think just to add on what Maddie just said, the partnership, we view the work that we do with vendors as partnerships, and this has truly been a partnership. Jamie and his team respond to our requests, and we're working with them to try to make things better for everybody.
Excellent. Conan?
I would absolutely recommend it. I would say that our ILS, the strength of it is managing and thinking about how electronic resources are delivered. And its weakness is that it doesn't remember that we all have pretty large and legacy print collections that need work.
Yeah.
So this absolutely addresses that. And if you're wanting to dig into your collection in a pleasant manner, I would absolutely recommend this.
And last but not least, Stacey.
Yeah, yes, I would. Adding on to what James and Maddie said, really everybody, having the team aspect of the software and everything has been incredibly helpful. Anytime I've had like a suggestion, Neil's like, yes, we can totally attempt to do this and just kind of have run with it. It might not happen, you know, in this next iteration, but maybe a couple phases down the line. So that was very nice that, yes, we might actually try to get ebook editions and updates coming. So that's been lovely because that's been one hard thing for me to figure out is when ebooks can be updated or not. So.
So I'm going to end with a funny story. So I was actually visited a customer in England last week. So we did a London forum for our public libraries, and we were talking to one of the key kind of head librarians, and she went, "Oh, there's Mary's barcode search." Because she was one of the ladies that asked for a barcode search right at the beginning. So this is where you can scan a barcode into our system and it pops up the information about that book, gives you the yeses and nos, etc. So she's now called it Mary's barcode search because she was the one that spoke to us originally in our research. So it was nice to hear someone saying, "Oh, that was my idea to have the barcode search in the front page. It makes life easier." Now, I'd just like to thank everyone for your time. Now, if anyone would like to see cHQ Academic in more detail, so if you'd like to book a demo, here are my contact details. So it's jamie.wright@collectionHQ.com. And I can jump on a Teams call or a Zoom call and provide you, a 30-minute to an hour demonstration. We can go really into the weeds of what the system looks like and how it feels and how it operates. And I can give you more stories about the system.